We will be starting soon. Good afternoon, everybody. We would like to start this sign language session. Let me switch that on. There you can see me now. So welcome everyone to this South African Sign Language course that we're presenting. It's only 45 minutes, so we do not have a lot of time. So I'm just going to welcome everyone and introduce our SASL trainers to you. SASL is short for South African Sign Language. We have two trainers who are both deaf. The one is Rieta and the other is Simon. So they will only be signing, but they will use written language. So that should provide enough information for you so that you understand the signs. If you have any questions, please keep them for the end. We will be recording their session, and please excuse their face masks. We have to maintain safety protocols. We teach South African Sign Language by using South African Sign Language. It's a very popular method of language training. And I realize for some it is a bit uncomfortable because they prefer English or some kind of accessible language while they're learning another language. But in this case, we are going to do it with SASL. Please try and copy the signs yourself and try and do it as they are doing it. They might ask you to cooperate, and if you can switch on your video, it would be nice for them to see you and to see if you are using and making the signs correctly so that they can give you the proper feedback. So you'll be hearing from me again at the end, where we will then take any questions. So the two trainers, they can switch on their webcam and then we can start. We'll just give them a few moments. Everything was working very, very well just a few minutes ago. Ah, there we go. Try and pin their video so that you can see the video as the larger video. Here you see the manual alphabet, which is shown with the hand. This is not really a part of South African Sign Language as it comes from the written language, but it is used frequently by people who cannot sign very, very well. So A, B, C, D, E, we are at now. Make sure your palm always faces the other person. With the F, make sure the fingers are closed, are not closed, my bad. The G, there are some regional variations to the manual alphabet. In the G, for example, there are 2 or 3 variations, but they all look very similar with the index finger sticking out. The H, not like that, like that. Yeah, with your palm facing you in this case, so that's the exception to the rule. The H, there is another H, which is borrowed from Irish Sign Language that is used by several schools for the deaf. The I, with the pinky, and you use the same hand and you move it to make the J. The K, so you put the thumb and it is against the K. The L, probably one of the easiest hand shapes. And it looks like the L as well, that helps. So you have to close the 3 fingers over the thumb for the letter M. I realize some people struggle putting all 3 fingers over a thumb, but it's important to see that 3 fingers are lifted up. So now with the N, it's only 2 fingers that is over the thumb. Most people are able to do this. O, very simple, just all the fingertips on the thumb. The P, so if you did the K properly, you can just flip it upside down to get the P. So the index finger and the middle finger, they aren't next to each other, but the one is in front of the other. So make sure that is correct. The Q, so it doesn't look like a Q, so that might be confusing for some people. So make sure the thumb and the index finger are both pointing downwards. R, crossing your fingers. So it's the middle finger that's above the index finger. S, it's just a fist with your thumb in front. With the A, the thumb is to the side. The T looks a little bit. So you remember the sign for morning? That is the hand shape that we used, the T. U, this is probably the easiest one. This is probably the easiest one. So it's the N, but the fingers are just straight up. V, now this might be the easiest one. So this is a very common sign. The W, so you have the 3 fingers that looks like writing a W. So this is why this is not the number 3. The number 3 is other fingers. This is the X, so your finger is like a hook. The Y, also a little bit iconic, a little bit similar to the written letter. You can move your hand down if you want. That would be fine. And the Z, the Z, you just draw it. Now that's probably the easiest one. The Z, and we use it so rarely, which is odd, given that it's so easy to do. So now we're going to illustrate a few words. So when you spell a word, so we're going to go through it again. So make sure we're going to go a bit faster. A, B. Yeah, make sure the thumb is in front of the palm. C. Okay, yeah, I can see that. So make sure it bends. Yeah, that's fine. Takalani, I see that's correct. Yes. Yeah, that's good. Well done. D. So your index finger has to stick up. It's also valuable to see someone else doing it because everyone's hands might be a little bit different. So the E. So if you, I don't know if you recall, but Simon's E, there's a bigger gap between the fingertips and the thumb. So there can be variations to what it looks like. F, fingers must be closed. Otherwise it looks like the 3. G. Now you can see, if you notice, this is a different variation to what Simon used. So both are correct. So the important thing is that the index finger is sticking out. So that's how you identify the G. H, quite simple. I. J, which is just the I moving to draw a J. K, so you see the middle finger is a little bit in front of the index finger and your thumb is resting against the inside of the middle finger. So if you do that correctly, you just flip it around and you have the P. L. M. So again, important for 3 fingers to be clearly separate from the pinky. And the N is just 2 fingers. O, just making a circle with your hand. The P, which is just the K, flipped around. So again, you will notice that the index finger and the middle finger, they aren't next to each other. Q, Q, there, someone's doing it right, well done. The Q, R, crossing your fingers. And the S with the thumb in front. Remember the A has it on the side. The T almost looks like a T. U. These hand shapes are important for you to know because not only are they in the alphabet, but they're also commonly used in South African Sign Language. The hand shapes often look like these hand shapes. So the V, several signs use this hand shape. The W, again, several signs use this hand shape. So that's why it's important not only for the finger spelling, but also for the signs. The X. So again, a variation, you see, her thumb was inside the fingers, where Simon was outside the fingers. Both are correct. The Y. The Y, if you can't see, just make sure to full screen, to watch it in full screen. And then the Z. At the end, we have the Z. Okay, well done, well done. Okay, Simon's going to okay, so here we go. See if you can figure this out. Just hang on, just hang on. Don't copy him at the moment. Just watch. So he's going to be finger spelling something. What is it? Well done, Mike. Indeed. Okay, so you make sure that you see the positioning of his hand when he spells. It's slightly to the front of him and in line with his right shoulder. And he has a nice, consistent tempo. Not one letter going faster than another letter. So a nice, consistent, slow tempo. So that is the end of the South African Sign Language short training session that we had. It was a lot of signs for someone to learn. So now we have time for questions. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat so that our two trainers will also be able to read any questions. So we're going to give it a minute for some questions. If anyone has a question. Maybe to inspire some questions, I spoke about the different finger spelling variations that we have. So if you noticed, the letter that they spelled for G was a little bit different and X was a little bit different. So the different schools for the deaf have different influences, and it's attributed to that. The sign for secretary has a straight finger, and the sign for hearing aid has a bent finger. So the hearing aid sign, the finger bends and goes behind the ear, similar to a hearing aid. Whereas secretary, if you want to find some iconicity, some kind of reference, it's a pen on the ear. So that is the difference. We can ask them to demonstrate the two signs for you. Lynette is interpreting, so they can show the sign for hearing aid, and then they can show the sign for secretary. So there you see the difference. Okay, so there's the secretary sign, which is a straight finger, and the bent finger is the hearing aid sign. So it's very, very similar. Yeah, we would call this a minimal pair in South African Sign Language. Mike asks, how does a sentence construction work? It looks like what or who comes at the end. This is a very complex answer. There is no set order to South African Sign Language sentences. We found about 7 different types of orders that's possible. There does tend to be a majority. So we don't really know what it is because the research is very young and recent. But yeah, for example, the question signs tend to come at the end. Time signs tend to come at the start. In interrogatives, where you ask something, when you say please, when you say thank you, when you ask something, those signs typically come at the start. So those tend to be verbs as well. So it's not very, very clear. So what often is referred to is topic and comment sentence structure. So the topic, which tends to be the subject, but not always. The thing that is the most important comes at the start, and then your comment about that comes after. So I realize that's not a very satisfying answer, but we're working on figuring it out. So we have a few minutes left while I'm waiting for anyone else to put up a question. The different schools for the deaf in the country, they have been influenced by different organizations. So we never had a curriculum for South African Sign Language. We never had a prescribed textbook from the government like we had for the other languages. So what happened was that each school was left to their own devices. They had to figure out the signs and the structure for themselves. So some schools just invented it on the spot. Other schools relied on the deaf community around the school. Other schools, again, borrowed textbooks and resources from other countries where sign language research is a bit more advanced. Other sign languages in other countries are not the same as the South African Sign Language. A very clear example is name. The sign for name in American Sign Language is exactly the same as the sign for toilet in South African Sign Language. So it could cause quite some confusion. The word order, the sign order also may be different, although most tend to follow the same order. So that's why you see the different variations in the finger spelling that Simon and Rita showed. And we have the different sign for the H as well. I don't know if Simon or Rita knows the other sign for H. They might perhaps show you that one. The Nivuop School here in Worcester, for example, they use that. Yeah, that's the common one. Yeah. So yeah. So there's another one that I don't think they may, if I show it to them, they will know. So I'm putting on my video. So this is a different one. That's a different H, and that is borrowed from Irish Sign Language. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. If you have any questions that may come up in the course of the day, the week, feel free to send an email to learnsasl@nid.org.za. You can follow our Facebook page. We frequently post videos and information. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it ignited something that you are a bit more eager and motivated to learn some South African Sign Language. The deaf community really appreciates, as does any language community. Thank you everyone for attending, and please enjoy the rest of your day.